So it was more of like a mindset thing wherein like I'm content with what I have right now, but I'm not complacent. Like if something comes along and I have the chance and the advantage to grab it and really go for it, then why not?
Laureen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I am amazed and inspired by your story. Guys, she moved to the States, Laureen, in January 2020.
Yeah.
And within a month, she got her first background acting job. A few months after that, she got her regular background acting gig. My gosh, how did you do it? No acting background in the Philippines, and that is why she's here to share her journey with us. Laureen, so tell me, did you always want to move to the States?
I wouldn't say that it was a want, but I feel like I was prepared to want it. We grew up in an English-speaking household. My parents would tell us to speak English. We were in international school for a little while. We watch American shows. And so I've always been interested in the American entertainment industry. And so when my dad moved out here and he told us, you know, you'll eventually move out here too, I kind of like was preparing myself for the big move. Just didn't know when, just didn't know how. But like, here I am right now.
Even in the Philippines, you were already modeling, but not acting.
Not
So
acting.
tell me about getting this background acting job.
It was weird because like I didn't have any experience and yet I still went for it. That's the funniest thing. Like the things that scare you and excite you at the same time. I feel like those are the things that are worth it.
So how did you try?
Well, for this one, I got this contact from my brother. My brother worked as a scare actor in Halloween Horror Nights.
Okay.
And he had connections with actors who did the same thing. And so when he told me about that, I applied for this casting agency. I laid down all of the skills that I had, and for whatever was in my profile, they found me fit for this role. It was just weird seeing like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually fit for a certain role in Hollywood.
Right.
The preparation for background acting is not as much for the actual actors because we don't have lines.
Right.
So as long as you have the expressions down, if you get into the character they want you to play, you know, that's pretty much all you have to do for the background acting.
And you did that job for about a month?
2 days. The lockdown happened on my second day of the job.
That must have been so
I know.
frustrating for you, right?
I was like, the ball is just rolling. Like, what
Right.
happened?
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of like a wake-up call for me. It was like saying, hey, it's actually possible. As much as it was like a very sad time, maybe it was the reset I need because I had so much of this limiting belief. So I was like, maybe being in the lockdown right now, having not much responsibility, which was my privilege, and being able to focus on myself and what I like 110%, I will be able to grow more and adapt more and build up myself more in order to prepare for the next opportunity.
I'd like us to unpack that limiting beliefs that you had.
I guess the number one thing is I always felt like I didn't deserve what I wanted. All throughout my life in the Philippines, everything was laid out for me.
Okay.
Because coming from parents who only knew as much as they could at that time, because they only had those resources, I didn't know any better, so I followed them.
Okay.
Number two is your dreams aren't possible. I've had so many people super close to me that I trusted tell me like, oh, your biggest dream is not possible. But I took it upon myself to retrain my mindset into thinking everything is possible.
Right.
Like, if someone is doing the thing that I like, why is it I can't do it?
Right.
You know?
So your limiting beliefs, did you know that at that time they were limiting to you? And what did you do about them?
I honestly feel like when you're in a place that you don't feel like yourself, that's how you know that something is holding you back. Because for so long, like having to study engineering for like 8 years of my life, I just knew I wasn't in the right place. And the more I listened to myself and my intuition, I listened to that small voice inside at the back of my head, I started meeting more people that had the same likes, the same interests, and that just made me feel so much more support because I couldn't get that support from my family and my peers before because we weren't the same people.
Right. And you were successful.
I think that's another limiting belief. Like, it's hard for me to think like I'm successful. But success, it differs for everyone, you know. So So it's another thing I had to learn for myself. Like, you know what, I'm successful.
Right.
I've done so much that other people said I couldn't do. So even if I feel like I'm not there yet, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Thank you for sharing your time with us here on So Janelle, bringing a spotlight to the backyard, to the background actors. We're very, very proud of them making a name for themselves slowly but surely in Hollywood. We're going to give you now the second part of our interview with Laureen, who is now a full-time background actor here in Hollywood with hopes and with sights set on portraying someday like principal characters here in Hollywood as well. Here's the second part of our interview, but first, before we give you that, we want to remind everyone that if you missed the first part or if you missed any of our editions here on the show, everything is on social media, where we are always on. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/SoJanelleTV, and we are also on Facebook as well as on Instagram. And right about now, here is the continuation of our conversation, the so true immigrant story of Laureen.
I finally feel seen. I finally feel heard after so many years of being wrapped in like a really tiny box.
Right.
Like, I can finally be myself and people appreciate me for it. And if I can inspire people who have always felt like how I have been feeling, then that's all that matters at this point.
This segment on the show called So True talks about the immigrant journey.
Yes.
So what were the struggles?
Oh, I definitely still felt homesickness because I was the only sibling that ever, grew so much in the Philippines. Because I was able to work even after college. I still had ties with some of my bestest friends in the Philippines. And it just felt guilty for me to have to grow away from them. But I think that's what was hard being an immigrant, because I also feel so much like an alien in Los Angeles. Because when I first got into background acting, I was with different ethnicities, different cultures.
Right.
As much as it was scary, it was also a reset. Like, I could finally define myself on my own terms. I can reinvent who I am, being around people who don't know me, and learning from different cultures is also a very good privilege. Like, I learned from their open-mindedness, because not everyone has that Filipino mindset.
Right.
So, but they also just saw me as someone new. I think that was the hard part. They wanted to teach me, and I also felt like I didn't know anything at that point. But it's okay. Like, I really didn't know anything at all.
Right.
So I'm grateful that I was able to learn so many things along the way. And I feel like at this point, I've finally my own person.
You're young and you have the whole world in front of you. You can make it what you want it to be, right? And so you had the humility to just absorb from people that were teaching. I think it's harder for some older immigrants. They're set on their ways. And they have been primed because of whatever achievements they've accomplished in the Philippines maybe, to move here and then have to start from zero, have to start from being unknown, right? But you were already an influencer in the Philippines when you moved here. Did that help?
It definitely helped. I will always be grateful to whoever has helped me in the Philippines, because that's where I started. And it helped because I had experience. I had a backpack of experience. And as much as LA is a different playing ground than the Philippines, it's all almost the same.
Right. So looking at the person that you are now, what was the turning point or any moment that stands out from you where you actually learned and you know that it contributed directly to where you are right now?
I feel like it was when I was in the lowest, not really like lowest point in my life, but like one of the lowest points in my life, and that was just last year.
Really? Tell us about that.
Last year, I'm in my 20s. I'm in a very transitional period, and I've been trying to unlearn a lot of those limiting beliefs and learn new things. So I feel like I've been shedding so much skin, and I think the mistake that I did before was not taking care of myself. Like, I fell victim to everything that was happening around me, and I just wanted to give up. And that wasn't just a moment, it was months. It was months and months of me feeling sorry for myself, thinking that I didn't deserve what I've been achieving at all. I think those months turned into a whole year. And yet here I am, thriving from it.
happy.
I'd like to say so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Own it, girl. You work for it. Yeah, emotionally, physically, right? Even working on
Spiritually.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just putting yourself in the back seat is like one of the biggest mistakes you can do in your life, because when you take care of yourself, you can take care of everyone else.
Right.
You know?
And so now you look happy, you look healthy, you're
you.
also thriving, and as you said yourself, where do you plan to take this?
Well, I'm not close to any opportunities, even for the engineering. You know, for me, that's always my safety net. I didn't grow up with like a very wealthy family, so I'm grateful I have that with me. But for right now, the entertainment industry and any other creative process, I'd like to explore it more. So I'm open to lead roles. Hopefully, my next step is commercials, actually. So leaning towards that. And then, you know, the influencer route, the vlogging route, kind of like, I also like hosting and emceeing too. So I'm trying to listen to myself more.
Right.
So whatever sparks my interest, I will work towards it.
Right.
And if something happens, it happens. If something doesn't, then at least I tried it. You know. So I've always put my creative self in the back of my mind, and now I'm putting her forward. So whatever she wants.
Right.